Alright, we should be good to go. Welcome to GDL Season 7 Basculegion Division tier list by me, Draco, playing the Terror Dark Tyrants. This is just gonna be a bit of a yap set for me. I haven't done really like PRs before, especially not on my own. I've done it once more for RDL. I was with my friend Matt though. It was like easy to talk, with someone. Being on my own makes me feel like I'm going insane, but hey, I want to do it anyway, so I'm gonna do it. We're gonna be ranking these 12 teams. Not really ranking them, just placing in the tier list. And yeah, I think I'll leave my team for later because we gotta start somewhere. And I'm not really good at forming my own opinions because I'm always like, oh, this is good, but at the same time, is it though? And stuff like that. So this is gonna be all over the place, random, not make sense, and not for everyone. But here we go. Let's just start. Let's start with this team here, Deku. So we have a very interesting team. A lot of bulk on it, from what I can see immediately. Dragonite, Clodsire, Rhyperior, Sinistra. Solid offensive, majorly physical attacking ones. Chenpao, Rhyperior, Dragonite, even Greedent, Earthworm, Infernape's more mixed, but when you pair with Chenpao. And Yanmega you have there for, even though it doesn't have Compound Eyes, you can always go with Screech to lower opponents' defenses. Solid type coverage here. The only type they're really lacking is Electric, which is not even too important. And in terms of type weaknesses, they're weak to Ice here on like 4 or 5 of their mons, which is quite a significant weakness there. But it could be difficult to overcome. You do have good mons into it. You have Infernape, which like fighting and fire, both really strong into Ice types, although for Ice coverage you don't really have much. You have Earthworm, resist both, really bulky, Iron Defense Body Press, really good into opposing Ice types. And Chenpao gets Sacred Sword, of course. Rhyperior with Solid Rock and Assault Vest could take like Special Ice moves well, and with its physical bulk could probably take a few physical Ice moves well enough anyway. There's no real Intimidate on the team unless I'm missing it. So that's one form of damage recovery they're missing. They do have Fake Out. Fake Out on Meowstic, Infernape, solid Fake Out users. They have good priority blocking though. Bruxish is a really underrated mon, in my opinion. 30 points means it's a tier 4, I believe. It's a really strong mon because it has 2 options, both Dazzling and Strong Jaw. There, I've seen games. I haven't played them, because I watched some of my friends play games against Bruxish, and they hesitated to use priority moves because they thought it was Dazzling, and then they were just banded Strongjaw, and that just deletes health bars of mons with like banded Psychic Fangs, Strongjaw booster. It does a lot of damage. Other key there, they have a solid Trick Room mode with Sinistra, Rhyperior, also Florges, Earthworm. They have solid mons for Trick Room. They have I think they're a bit lacking on the fast side. They have Chenpao that's really fast, Infernape's moderately fast in these speed tiers, and the rest are not too great. They have Speed Boost, and you have Tailwind with Yanmega, so that's pretty free. Of course, you can't ignore the fact that you have Pownite, Dragonite, Chenpao. And against an unprepared team, you just go Eternal, which was spend extreme speed, and that should do a lot of damage to most things, especially paired next to Chenpao. And it gets teams, because not every team has Intimidate. You can even go multi-scale, which just makes you even harder to kill from anything. This being a Terra Open League for everything is really good for mons like Dragonite and Rhyperior would like to shed its quadruple weakness to water and grass. Not much else to say here. It's a solid team. Fairy being Florges, especially bulky. Let me see. If I were to say there's something they're really lacking though, I feel like this team is missing something. And I can't exactly point my finger on what that is. I think that would be some more special offense. Is I think what it's missing. It's very primarily physical, although we can run special moves on some of these guys. Like Florges is a good one, Sinister is good, and you can run Infernape. You can probably even run Chen Pao mixed if the matchup really calls for it. I could see it working, though not very common. Solid team nonetheless. Incoherent ramblings aside, I will put the Leon plus Ultra in B tier for now. Might move up to A, might stay in B. We can come back to them later. I've changed my mind a lot throughout all this. Ghost weakness, Chen Pao there to counter. Flying weakness, again, Chen Pao there to counter. Chen Pao really here, stuffing all weaknesses. But again, not much for these types here. Anyways. Next team, Terra Croc. This is a really good team, in my opinion. It has like a few like holes here in the type chart, but the mons themselves are really solid. Fluttermane, Entei, really solid. Like Fire and Fairy are really good like types you can go. For offense, Gothitelle is an incredible support mon. This team's not too like Intimidate weak, because this team's actually not Intimidate weak at all. Really. Snorlax doesn't appreciate it, but you have an Inner Focus, competitive, Inner Focus, and then a bunch of special attackers. Virizion, Rhydon, of course, physical attackers. Virizion, Rhydon, Snorlax. But I don't think it's worth bringing Intimidate when you can potentially give Milo a buff, Goth even a buff, or of course Inner Focus. It doesn't even matter to guys like this. This is very strong, like very bulky team even. Entei, Goth, like Eviolite, Rhydon. I think this was a misplacement. It wasn't supposed to be tier 6. Just none of the mod team just really thought about it or discussed it. That's why Rhydon's ended up in tier 6, but value spot snag from them. Very solid speed tiers, despite like on both sides of the spectrum. They have really fast Fluttermane, Noivern, Entei, Virizion, and then have solid slow mons as well in Rhydon, Snorlax, Gothitelle. This is a very good team. Covers all their bases. Can weaken physical attackers with Sacred Fire burns. Has the potential for even some games to either like bring Specs Lava Plume. 90 is not a much, but can give Darkspun the Welbeck body buff for Iron Press, for Body Press. And Darkspun itself is really hard for physical attackers to remove if it can get its a few iron defenses up. Really solid redirection mono Electabuzz. Prevents sleep as well. Goth, of course, just annoying in general with Shadow Tag. Can really pin down some mons. And of course they have that Sneasel Virizion here for some potential beat up justified things. Although Virizion's definitely the worst of the three you can use for that strategy. Other things you have here, you can have Boomburst Toxtricity next to Fluttermane. Like, you can go Speed Booster Fluttermane with Icy Wind next to Specs Toxtricity, go Terra Normal Boomburst. Fluttermane's immune, drops the opposing mon's speed, just blows them up. There's a lot of synergy here, which I really like. Frisk is an incredible ability in draft, and it also has, for Noivern especially, really fast Tailwind setter, and also has telepathy, so you can even go for the Boomburst. You can go for Boomburst with both of them, honestly. Of course, Tox would be a lot stronger with it. And of course, if Snorlax gets up like a belly drum, I just see a lot. This is probably one of the best teams here, if I'm being honest, in my opinion. It has a lot going for it. The type weaknesses are there, but the mons that are really weak to Fairy are like Noivern and Sneasel are frail to begin with. And you have mons like Entei to help with the Fairy weakness. With Rock's not too common. And again, it's only really Entei is weak to them because the other two mons are frail anyways and like to run Sash. Ground weakness is a bit of an issue, but again, when you have Milotic and Virizion along with Noivern, I think that's something you can pretty easily deal with. So yeah, I think I'd put this team. Where is it? Torturing Stellas. I'll put all teams in A tier. I only want like a couple S tiers, and I'll put them in at the end once I've decided the rest. So we can move to the next team then, which is Raz. And we have a solid team here. Immediately, first thing I see when I look at teams is the type chart. Only real two weaknesses being Ghost and Fairy, and only 2 or 3 of each. And Fairy is not too big of an issue when you have both Iron Moth and Golden Go. Golden Go being the big fairy killer, and then Iron Moth. Ooh, this is a really solid pairing now that I think about it. You can go like Specs Iron Moth with Sludge Wave next to Golden Go. And you're pretty free to click that. There's not other any mons you can do that with, so you might want to be a bit careful, but still the potential threat of like Scarf Golden Go, Booster Moth, or Specs Moth is really scary. You got Ogerpon Wellspring as your tier 1, really strong mon. Follow Me, Ivy Cudgel, Woodhammer. Really should send it to a lot of the opposing teams. This team doesn't really have like a lot of inherent flaws. Like some of the low tier mons like Minior and like Whoopers, of course, some people just have to have a tier 6. I don't really see doing much, but Ramble with with Intimidates can be really useful. Reuniclus gives you a solid Trick Room mode, especially with Vikavolt as well. A 145 special attack stat is nothing to scoff at, especially paired with like something like Flygon. That's a very solid Disquake pairing right there. Discharge and Earthquake really solid into a lot of common mons. And yeah, and of course the other pairing, Golden Go and Iron Moth again. So there's a lot of solid special offense here. Physically, it's not even too... Physically, it's a bit lacking, but the mons you have there, Hariyama, Ogerpon Wellspring, and, well, even Flygon, they are solid mons in their own right. Nothing really to block Intimidate, but when your team's just specially orientated, it's not too big of a deal. Fake out on Iron Hand. On Hariyama, I mean. I see Hariyama and I just think of Iron Hands because it's just better, but Hariyama's a really solid mon, really underappreciated with Iron Hands being so popular. Morpeko, the GOAT, allegedly, we'll see. So, we'll see how it is in the thing. I do see the vision. 97 speed's really solid. Fake out. Electro Web, Taunt. That's solid tools. I've considered drafting it a few times myself. Reuniclus, the GOAT. Force a Trick Room. This is the type of... When I've used Reuniclus in the past, I've had Meowstic Male, the Prankster Psychic Terrain, and then Expanding Force. Of course, you don't need to do that. The only experience I have Reuniclus is that I haven't used it alone. And it's a solid... It seems like a very solid Pokemon. Trick Room setter. Solid offenses. Yeah, solid like pairing there with Hariyama Vikavolt for a good Trick Room mode. Of course, you have the Bug here for very consistent Tailwind setting. More bulky than you expect it to be with its base set total of 430. You invest enough, this thing lives at least 2 hits always, and Prankster makes this annoying for opposing teams. You can fake out easy because of Encore Pressure, Tailwind's free, and go for like screens or other moves I might be missing. But yeah, this team also put in A tier. I don't quite think this could be S tier if I'm being honest, but I believe they're Crystalline Remnants, so yeah, I'm gonna put them in A tier as well. Next, okay. Now, another player in our league, Mario, is coming up next. He's also done his own versions of the PR rankings, and he's a very good player, much better than me. And he put this team in A tier. Personally speaking, I just don't see it. This team is so all over the place for me that I just can't. I just can't, if I'm being honest. You have a really solid pieces. They are very strong mons here. I just don't think they paired together well. You have Tinglu and Clefairy for your tier 1 and tier 2. which are really good mons. Like, altogether. These two are an unkillable duo, especially with Open Terra. Being able to Terra out of any of your weaknesses, go to a neutral type like water, and really solid. But then you have your main attackers for tier 3 and 4 are Zapdos, Salazzle, and Gengar, which are all primarily special attackers with a Ting Lu, and 2 of them are weak to ground. Well, with Zapdos, you can at least click Earthquake next to it, but with these two, you can't. And then, yeah, Taurus Paldea is a solid mon, very nice tier 4. And then with the last guys here, you have Gujisu and Gudra, my arch nemesis, because it's one of the mons that cost me my first draft league going any further. Like Body Press, Iron Defense, and with Salazzle even, you could try Dragon Tier if you really wanted to, because I that's what I got beat by, Dragon Tier into this guy, Scope Lens, spamming Draco. Really annoying. For Alligators, solid mon. On Sheer Force, boosted water moves, of course, go crazy. Shroodle, it's honestly really nice for a tier 6. I think it's one of the better ones with Prankster. Not crazy bulk, of course, but with Sash or something, or Eviolite, you should be able to get it to take hits. And then Mesprit. Mesprit's a solid mon. Tier 3, actually. It's better than I gave it credit for, but looking at stats, I can see why. You can also, another one, you can click Earthquake next to Ting Lu, but again, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 special attackers, like the ones that stats over 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, even Gudra, 10. You really, even some Flora, you can't really. It is very counter synergy in my own eyes, and there's only Gudra for you to click Sludge Wave with next to Gengar or Salazzle. So I personally don't see the vision. Snom's a based pick. I'm pretty sure XP lost a bet, but it's still a base pick nonetheless. Intimidate, only one fake out user in Salazzle. Trick Room, yeah, Mesprit is pretty solid Trick Room setter with his bulk, but I'll be honest, I don't see the vision myself. I'd be wonderfully happy to be proven wrong. I haven't played in a league with 6B, so I'm just assuming he's a good player. But I'm sure he could make it work, but like, this is either a C or D. I'll give it C tier. And we can move on to Mario's team. Now, Mario is an incredible player. We've only played once, but I've seen a lot of his games. He's a very strong player, good team builder. And it's a very nice team, although it makes me angry. It makes me jealous, because in ADL Season 2, I wanted Cobalion and Weavile as one of my main duos, even Alchemy. But in that league, I got Cobalion, but he took Weavile from me. So I was forced to take Sneasel for the entire league, which is a solid mon, but it just didn't do what I needed Weavile to do. And there's quite a few games where I lost because Sneasel didn't have the attack stat that Weavile does. It's just a bit frustrating seeing him getting it here. Because of course you can go beat up Justified, get the attack buffs. What I did was I went Terra Ghost with a weakness policy, so with one beat up you could get to +6 immediately. Although this is not required at all. Cobalion's a really solid mon on to have just Iron Press, Iron Defense, Body Press, and I've ran it in my time with just special moves primarily. Specs Cobalion went crazy. Looking at the team, fire weakness here, but it's not too big of a deal when you have Ursaluna. You don't really have a lot of resist. You have Taurus Paldea Aqua. It's hard to see here because it's not really the Sprite one load here, but this is a very solid mon for fire resist, intimidate. But an Ursaluna with Earthquake. Ursaluna is just an incredible mon. This is the type of mon you can go Like, even 50 base speed's not a lot, but paired with like Iron Juggler's really solid Tailwind setter, you can go Tailwind Earthquake and just mash things up. It's like Iron Juggler's is the only really mon you can click it next to. Oranguru, I guess, also. It's a really solid Trick Room setter. It has telepathy, but you might also want Air Focus to block Fake Out. Belly God, as Mario said, this mon won, or at least tied for Kill Leader in ADL. It's title I wanted with your Nicholas, but I didn't manage to get, so he brought it back. Billy Bolt was a monster in that league. Got like 25 kills or something. Being Kill Leader for the whole season. All the other incredible mon being Overborn Hearthflame, just Ivy Cudgel, Terra Fire, Attack. Being an open Terra league is really big for it, because it's able to freely Terra, get that +1 attack boost, and just destroy something. I think Iron Juggler I know gets Rain Dance, so I think it should get like Sunny Day as well, for if you just want to like nuke something. Alchemy, major potential issue. Sweet Veil's really big to block sleep for the entire team, and being able to give something like Ursaluna +2 is just a horrifying thought to consider. Really bulky, weak to like the few fairy weakness here. You have Cobalion, which people might not agree with. I think it's a really solid like mon to kill fairies with. I mean, I went to expect Steel Beam. Why can't you? Overborn Hearthflame, insane. No fairy really wants to take an Ivy Cudgel. The few that do, like if I'm thinking of fire resisted fairies, I guess Dockspun. And then that's it. Otherwise, like, yeah, there's not much fairies want to do in face of an Ivy Cudgel. This is why I'm not really sure what it's doing here. I guess it's also a Tailwind setter. Poltergeist could be strong, but I think you could maybe take another mon here, but it's not too big of a deal. Suin Sligo, also fun mon. Bulky, could do some things, maybe Acid Spray. Suin Avalog is whatever. It's slow. Yes, it is actually strong. Maybe Trick Room. I know Mario could probably cook with this mon. It's not too bad with Strong Jaw and Sturdy in particular. But yeah, it's just the main guys he has in Oranguru being the Trick Room setter. And even his fast mode being really solid. Weavile, Hearthflame, and Jugulus are really solid like fast mode. Cobalion, add a Cobalion in there. Even again, I said Ursa and speed under Tailwind against the more average speed teams could be really big. So I think this is another team which I'd consider putting in the S. So I'll put this in the A tier for now. So it's between currently these two teams, I believe, that would go in S. So let's go to the next one, being Wakeman, who is the league's owner, and I believe he won the last season, being season 6. I wasn't there for it, but he is, I believe, reigning champion for this div as well. Maybe for a different division, I'm not sure. And he just has the two. He just has the guys. Blood Moon Frigg. I swear, anytime I've ever seen anyone draft Blood Moon Ursaluna, for some reason, I've always seen it with a Tinkaton, which I swear is just a coincidence, but it's crazy for me to see, because it's always happens, and I don't know how. But, in any case, Frigg, Blood Moon, of course, incredible duo here for setting Trick Room and then just destroying things with Hyper Voice, Blood Moon, and the like. You got solid support mons here. Tinkaton, incredible. Fairy Steel, best typing in the game. Own tempo, I believe, blocks Fake Out. Well, it blocks flinches, but again, you might actually don't need it because you have Photograph with you. Lethal, support move tool, Thunder Wave, Knockoff, Fake Out. I believe it gets stat lowering moves like Fake Tears. So it's really good to pair with even like an offensive Photograph. Taros Boldia Blaze is a really good mon. Intimidate, run Assault Vest, doesn't need to against like other like Defiant teams. Teams with Defiant, you can go with Mirror Herb and make it really much of a menace. Grinja is like, it's okay. It's a solid tier 4 mon. Water, like really fast, really strong. 103 because it gets stab on everything, or like the first move at least, but it's not too bulky and it hits hard enough, but It could. I think it does have some like good support moves. Like I see when I can see here. Another other I can see immediately. Taunt's good, of course, but I don't know. Maybe you could have gotten like a better water type here. Though the dark typing is a solid pair. Suppose Dragalge. I actually really like Dragalge. Adaptability makes it, and its adaptability with its already great bulk, like special bulk at least, even physical bulk. Like 65 HP is not good, but 90 defenses, especially 123 SPDF, you can really make it like stick around for a while. Adaptability means it's like Draco Meteor, Sludge Bombs, they actually do pack a punch. Like it definitely hits like super effective mons for a lot, but even some neutral targets don't want to appreciate this level of power. Rotom's a good mon. It's faster than all other forms at 91. The rest are 86, I believe, 86 or 87. But otherwise, has worse stats across the board. But solid mon there, with like for like Electro Web and Thunder Wave and stuff. So I can definitely see it being used. Altaria, really solid tier 6 pick. Has Will-O-Wisp, which I also learned a while ago, and it's quite bulky, despite its like Dragon Flying's not the best defensive typing because Ice, of course. But you can definitely make this work. It has a lot of like support tools on it that can work. Ogrebon Cornerstone, Incredible Mon. These like main four, Blursa, Furgraph, Ticketon, Cornerstone, actually even Blaze Palday are really solid core altogether. Because you can't really fake out with Furgraph next to it. Ogrebon like Follow Me is away any like taunting attempts. So it's really hard to like stop the Trick Room from going up. And even you don't even need Trick Room sometimes because just Follow Me and Hyper Voice on turn on lead is enough to destroy things. Getting like a throat spray up with Frigg. Although in case you need to go fast, you always have the Murkrow here, which is a solid Tailwind setter. Really strong actually with his bulk. This doesn't look the bulkiest mon on paper. It really doesn't, but with Eviolite it should always leave like a hit or two. Spidops is, I believe, the meme pick. I'm not really sure what it's doing here. I honestly don't know what this thing does. I know what it does in singles. I know it gets webs and a lot of spikes. Get regular spikes, toxic spikes. I'm not really sure how you translate there. I guess string shot, I guess. Lower opposing speed by 2. Okay, buddy. And Hypnotoss is a fun mon. I like this guy. Not really sure what it does here. Like, Sandstream's nice, but like, I guess it gives Cornerstone a SPDF boost. It's really solid because Ogrepon's already really bulky, and it's like the sand buff. It should be really bulky, especially. But so this is a very solid team. Like just the main core, I don't really see you going wrong with it. Although some of these lower tier picks, I feel like could be. I don't really speak to me, especially not like Greninja, Rotom, or these two. Although these two aren't too big of a deal. I don't tend to judge the tier 6s too much because they're tier 6s. Even for my team, most of the time I just have them in there for like filler for type coverage. Although I'm happy with the ones I got. This team I'll put in A tier as well. It's not something I'd put in S tier though. Alright, next team, the Snickers Bar. Probably one of the most well-rounded teams, I guess, because you just have so many good support mons. Type chart here, weak to ground, flying, rock and go, so it does have some weaknesses here. Actually, looking, not a single ground resist is kind of a choice, if I'm being honest. The ground's a very common type to have. And neutral to types like dark, fire, ice, even psychic. Ooh. Because even though you have like a lot of really like good like staple mons, Amoonguss, Incineroar, Sylveon, Dragapult, typing wise it's not the best, if I'm being honest. Only one ghost resist, no one flying resist. It's not the best in terms of that, but the mons themselves are really solid. Incin, of course, one of the best VTC Pokemon, probably the best VTC Pokemon of all time. I don't think it's as good in draft because like you can see it coming quite obviously. I know like in VGC you always like have to prep for Incin because that's like Incin, but in draft I think it's a bit easier to counter if you specifically know what is coming and literally you build your whole team around its shenanigans. Among Us is the same for me. I really I'm not a fan of Amoonguss in draft, but I can see how, like, if you want to count how it's like bringing them having both on a team can be disruptive, because the way you'd counter something like Ensign is you'd bring like Clear Amulet, you'd bring Covert Cloak, but if you do that, you don't have goggles, so you can't block the Spore. And if you go Terra Grass, then you're weak to fire here, like the other monsters. You have Bug Scizor and then Flying Staraptor. So I definitely see the vision of pairing them together. I just think like some teams, if they really like to counter this, they can just hard dedicate a few mons to beat them both and then deal with the rest. Blastoise is a really solid water type. Just its like support moves are really solid. Fake Out, Icy Wind, Yawn in particular. But it also be a solid offensive threat. Shell Smash, of course. Water Spout. Never want to be on the receiving end of +2 Water Spout, but it's kind of hard to set up a Blastoise, especially because you have redirection in terms of Rage Powder, but Blastoise being a water type is weak to grass, so grass types aren't really going to be affected by this anyway. Sylveon's really solid special attacker, like one of the best fairy special attackers. Pixelate Hyper Voice might even be stronger than Fluttermane Hyper Voices because of the Pixelate buff. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me. It's probably equal in strength at least, so really solid. Then you have Gloking, which is a really, really bulky and solid Trick Room setter. Really hard to remove immediately because of its bulk. You have Regenerator to swap out with Chilly Reception, because that sets the snow up and then gives it like the HP recovery. He's better, much better in singles, but can definitely work in doubles, I think. Passimian is a somewhat defiant one, if anything. For its tier 5, I think it's actually, you could do a lot worse. It's definitely a solid mon you can use. Palossand, I really like Palossand. I think Ghost and Ground coverage is really good, but like, for some reason, this mon just doesn't work in draft, or people don't seem to judge it very high. But I think you could definitely, it's a solid mon here, because it's your best like ground offense, and special ground offense is very hard to come by. The only other ones are like Gastrodon or Landorus. Landorus Incarnate in particular. Polt, can never go wrong with Polt. Really like it's the backbone of this team's speed. Bandit, just Dragon Darts, just punches holes through a lot of teams, and in draft there's a lot of like its tools you can make use for. So it's probably one of the better like tier 2s in my opinion, just because of its wide support move pull speed and even solid bulk. Raiko's a good mon. I like it. Thunderbolt. I think it gets Scald actually. I could be wrong on that. I should want to check this. I'm not quite sure. Does someone get Scald? It'd be kind of crazy if it does. Why do I feel like it does? I could be watching too many like Then We Fight videos. This one does not get Scald, does it? It does get Scald. Wow. I didn't realize this thing got Scald. That's a really solid coverage move on there, going like Terra Water. And if you can somehow set the rain up, you can go for like Thunder and then the water moves from Blastoise. Resphere, real solid coverage mon, just special attacker. Has like fun tools as well with Roar. Not Roar, Howl I mean, to like buff your Dragapult because you can't lower its attack because Clear Body. And then Staraptor is a really good mon, really strong like tier 4 especially. Final Gambit with Scarf, can set up Tailwind, close combat for guys coverage, and reckless like Scarf Bravebird or Bandit Bravebird things. Really, it does all chunk a lot of mons. Ice Cube, not doing too much. I'd say if I'm being honest, I have no idea what this mon does. You do get like its ice space back because of this thing. I'm pretty sure Mario had like Frost mods instead of Passimian to also double in on the hill, but I think it's smart that he chose to drop that for this. Or maybe not. I could be out my mind, but it's a very solid team. But I just think it has like a lot of weaknesses here. And I'm debating between A or B for the Snickers bar. I'll put it in like the top of B for now. We'll move on to the next tier. We have Toby with a very interesting team. I'm not by my like, I'm not trying to insinuate this team is bad or anything. It's just that none of it's very when you look at a team, sometimes you just see like offensive mons, right? You see Polt offensive, Scizor offensive, Blood Moon offensive, Ursaluna offensive. It's hard for me to spot like immediately the offensive mons because like I know all of the like a lot of these mons are offensive. Ogerpon, of course, Latios, of course, and Enamorous, but like a lot of these I also see as like deal supportive mons, like P2, Volbeat, Hitmontop, and like the offensive mons you have. Jolteon's really strong offensively, but like it's not something you immediately think of. So it's like I need to grasp what the offense is here. Type weaknesses: massive ground weakness. You do have 2 immunities and 2 resists, and like all your immunities and resists are like some of your best offensive ones. Latios, Enamorous, and Ogerpon. So it's not too big of a worry there. Redirection is Magaby, which is like okay. It has really called speed. I didn't realize it's 83 speed. And I suppose with Eviolite you could make it bulky enough to live hits. Otherwise, Lycanroc Midnight, I don't really know what that mon does. It's a rock type, I guess, in a league where a lot of the mons are weak to rock. That's definitely something. Copperage is a good mon. I like it. Really like solid physical bulk. Not even just because of the HP stat. Like, I think it looks nice. With Life Orb, Sheer Force, of course, does crazy damage to anything. Because it has a lot of the moves that benefit from it, like Iron Head, and I think it gets like Rock Slide and stuff, which is really solid. Hitmontop, incredible support. Technician boosted just Intimidate. I mean, Technician boosts them with like Triple Axle, which you might want to run in some offensive cases where like a lot of the team has Dissuades, Intimidate. Other than that, it's really good bulky mon. It has a lot of support tools like coaching and stuff. Volbeat, incredible really solid Tailwind setter. Although you could also put that on duty on Latios because it's really bulky, has 110 speed, but I understand that you don't want to double up. You don't want to only have to rely on Latios as a Tailwind setter because it has so much offense. It does a lot of your team's offensive work. Ogerpon, of course, is also your supportive mon, but also has Follow Me, but again, it's really hard to have a mon like this as Follow Me when there's not too many offense mons. So you do want to use Ogerpon offensively, because this small form is the form that can hold an item. So you can go Scope Lens with Focus Energy to get crit Ivy Cudgels. But sometimes I can see you can double up for it. You can use it for both duties. P2, incredible Trick Room setter. Its bulk, it makes it undying. This Eviolite P2 is impossible to one-shot, even two-shot sometimes. It's got great staying power, and actually it has very solid damage output with both download and analytic. Download's a bit easier to counter because you simply make all your as much of your team possible have more one more special defense stat than defense, and then your opposing team then it only gets the attack buff. But when you terrestrialize, then Terrible Blast becomes physical, so you can make use of that. Muck, I don't see. Muck and Golduck, I don't really see what they do, and yeah, I can't linger on them too much because I just think of and I don't know what they really do here. They're sold good base stat totals for their tiers, at least for both at 500. It's a solid team. I'd put this in B tier if I'm being honest. Where is it? There's B tier. Next team we have Radio. My mistake, I believe this is supposed to be the Gateway Archaludons, but I have this other team, their other team, the Tokyo City Kaijus. So my apologies, but this is Radial here. Radial is a very strong team in my opinion. I think I liked it myself better pre these changes, because before this they had Iron Jugulus, Crocodile, and like a few other mons, but even this version is really solid. Raging Bolt, just incredible mon. I forgot to point these, but this is tier I believe this is tier 1, tier 2, and these two are both the last tier of 10 and 10, and that makes sense. No, not 20. No, then this is 20. Oh my lord. I'm sorry. Technical difficulties. We're done here. Very solid team. I like a lot of what it has. Raging Bolt, incredible electric type. One of probably the best you can have aside from Iron Hands. Iron Hands might be a bit better in draft. No, probably equal, honestly, with how good they both of them are. You have Mudsdale, which is I see like it ranked as tier 2 here. And I haven't seen it do anything in draft yet, but I can imagine with like stamina and body press, this mon gets really annoying to remove. Or if you give it an assault vest. Gardecudo, very solid, like one of the few mons that can serve both as a Trick Room and Tailwind setter, and very solid Intimidate deterrent. Because a +2 like freezing glare is not like easy to take. Cinderace is a very underrated mon. I do like it a lot because I like it a lot because I got destroyed by this mon in the RDL. Like just fast Pyro Ball, Clear Amulet, like coaching. It has a lot of tools. I do really like it. Spiritomb is my goat. I love Spiritomb in drafts so much. I'm so happy to see it get used. It's just a really good mon. Very deceptively, like, good, not just like off like bulk, but offense as well. I have used Spec Spiritomb to success a few like times in my day. But yeah, I really love all the tools this thing has to offer. Snarl, Foul Play, a Trick Room, Will-O-Wisp, Trick, Skill Swap even. There's a lot of tools going for it to make it a solid mon. Berserker is also a mon I really like. I haven't used it before, but I really appreciate it. It has Fake Out, of course, but Steel Spirit. The Steel Spirit doesn't really get used with any of the partners here, but Tough Claws just makes it a really solid low-tier attacker. Arbok's also another mon I appreciate quite a bit. For its low-tier placement to tier 5, it has solid tools as well. Glare, Gumshot, Not with Coil. Kupfu is just there because it's fun. I didn't know it gets no guard. I think that's a mistake. I don't think it actually gets that. But Inner Focus, I think it's just there for the fun mon. The main two here you have are Rillaboom and Primarina. Raging Bolt is also something I feel like I always see in draft. Anytime I see a Raging Bolt, someone always takes Rillaboom, which makes sense. Both are like paired together very well. And like Rillaboom's just a really solid mon for Fake Out, like solid really strong damage output with like terrain boosted wood hammers, grassy glides, and in draft you can make full use of its other tools like taunt, high horsepower, low kick, knockoff, and Prim's just an incredible special attacker. Hyper Voice, Moonblast, Dazzling Gleam, Specs, Throat Spray, Life Orb, all of it can work. Pyroar is a bit underrated myself. Like, I feel like this mon can do something because that's solid speed and special attack, but like this never works. But you could see it work here. And Venat's a very like their only redirector, but I think it's actually not that bad because with Eviolite it's pretty bulky. It gets all the tools like it needs. It has Compound Eyes for Sleep Powder and Rage Powder and all that. I think one thing this team does lack a bit is a bit in the speed department. For all the teams you have, like you saw some mons at 125, 135, and really high speed tiers. This team's pretty like average speed tiers. Like there's a lot of slow mons, definitely works for Trick Room, but there's not too much in terms of speed. That's one like thing, but I still think it's a very solid bulky offense score. I'm willing to put this in A tier. These will be ranked in their individual tiers. I'll get to that at the end. I think I'll do mine next, and then I'll move on to the last two. Now, my team. I love my team. I'm very happy with how I drafted it. It makes me hesitant to I don't like ranking like my own things when I'm alone. If there was someone else, I could like bounce opinions off. But it just feels like ego, like a bit like full of myself to say I think this is one of the best teams here. But I feel like it is, but at the same time, also, I just think it's definitely like one of the best teams I've ever made. Because I'm happy with how all the pieces got put together. This is not what I initially wanted. Because I wanted like Gossatel and like Indeedee Mail and stuff, but it's just not how the thing has turned it up, but I'm still very happy with the end result here. Gauge is my tier 1. This is the mon I've always wanted to use in my first ever draft league. This is a mon that was paired with Gudra to end my career, and I've always wanted to use it since. And I'm very happy this is the team to pair it with. Thundy, really solid. Electric, like, paralysis better, support mon, gets weather, gets, like, electric terrain if I were to ever want to, like, block sleep or boost treads, activate the port drive, taunt, and then also very solid like offenses, of course. 125 special attacks, nothing to sneeze at. Even Defiant, solid, Intimidate, Deterred. Gyarados, I needed a water type, like aside from these two tier 6s, and this is the best one I could find. For the best tiers, the other options were like Iron Bundle, Palafin, which didn't really suit what I wanted it to do. Gyarados is a very solid bulky offense because of course you can go. The standard set would be to just run it offensively with like Dragon Dance or just straight up attacking, but this can go supportive like Thunder Wave, Taunt, and other things. Treads is also another mon I really wanted to use because I feel like it's just a very solid mon, like good offenses, speed, and great typing. And because it's ground type, I can pair with like I can just click Earthquake with like Thunderous and Gyarados pretty easy. And I don't need to go because some of the good ground types like Garchomp don't have like a good single target ground move. Because Garchomp and Lando both have Stomping Tantrum. This guy does have higher power. It makes it really strong. Ribombee, really good tier 4 in my opinion. It's got a very nice speed tier at 124 and has Tailwind. It makes it a very good Tailwind center because it also has Shield Dust, which it acts as a built-in covert cloak, so I can also run Sash. So it gives me Tailwind, like another weather setter in Sunny Day or Rain Dance, but also has other good tools like Skill Swap and Fake Tears and Struggle Bug. So I do actually like it a lot. I think it's pretty solid for tier 4. Furt is my redirector, which I'm quite happy with because I think Frisk is one of the best abilities you can have, like a really strong ability to have in draft, because just knowing what your opponent has off the jump can definitely influence your game plan a lot. And with enough bulk investment, this one actually lives better hits than you'd expect. This thing lived barely took 45% from Life Orb first impression from low kicks or something, which may not be the most impressive damage calc, but it does live hits is what I mean to say. Espeon's the most last addition on this team. I used to have Alolan Raichu here, but then I realized I literally didn't have a single one that said Trick Room, and I'm like, no, I don't like having an option to reverse Trick Room. You can deal without Tailwind, I think, if you're doing bulky enough, but you really want something with Trick Room in case you have to force the reverse wars. So I took the Espeon in there. It's a really solid mon with its speed tier, offense, and magic bounce. I prefer. It's unfortunate I don't have a psychic terrain setter. Otherwise, this would be really good, because then I could, of course, go Expanding Force, but it's alright that we don't. Quag and Quillfish is my tier 6 mons. These are just Quagsire, if I'm being honest, I just threw on there because as a tier 6, it looks the least bad on my type chart. It only has 1 weakness, 2 immunities with Water Absorb, and has 3 solid resists. fire and steel being important, but other than that, I can actually see it coming in a few situations. I don't know where it's especially useful. Then we get to these two, Mienshao Bisharp. I'm really happy I managed to get these. My initial draft plan had instead of Thundurus here, I had Galarian Zapdos, and I was gonna have Thundurus as my spare mon. But the more then I just stop and think about it. Everything I wanted Zapdos to do, like I can do with like a mixture of Thundurus and Mienshao, which saves me more points and also gives me Fake Out because I didn't have Fake Out before. That was one of the things that really annoyed me. But Mienshao gives me Fake Out faster, like even faster than Zapdos at 105. Zapdos is 100 and the same attack stat for like close combat and stuff. And also has all the tools I wanted: coaching, quick guard, and even more moves like wide guard and stuff, and solid offensive coverage with triple axle knockoff and stuff. Bisharp, really happy to have it on here. It's a very good like Defiant Mon, Intimidate Deterrent to pair with Thundurus because you don't want to go Defiant too often on Thundurus because Prankster is just so good. But Bisharp's a really good mon there because Eviolite just makes it incredibly hard to remove. And it's not too much weaker than King Gambit. Like, only 10 points weaker in its attack stat. To the point that it's very similar for a much better type matchup. I would attempt to get King Gambit on this team if I didn't just win my first league with it. So I don't like to use the same mons on repeat too often. The only mon here I've used before is Thundurus in like my second league. This is my 7th. So I've decided to... Actually, no, Coolfish as well. Coolfish was 4th league or 5th league. These are the few mons I've decided to just give a run back because I think they fit the situation. And Serperior, one of my favorite Pokemon. Like, one of my second or tied for my favorite starter with Hisuian Samurott. I've always loved Serperior because Contrary is one of my favorite abilities, and I know it's very hard to make work. I've tried making it work in normal VGC a lot of times, even to like altering success, and it's even harder to use in draft, but I will make it work. It has a lot of solid tools: Taunt, Glare, Screen, Sleet Seed, and of course Leaf Storm is not something you can ignore if it starts building up too much. I'm also very happy with how the type chart ended up. Like, there's still weaknesses here, but like they're not too bad. Like, I had a ground weakness when I had Raichu, but swapping it to Espeon kind of fixed it. This is a team where I would put an S, but again, I just feel like I can't do that myself. I'll put it here. Next team, like the second last team, is... I don't want to talk about this team. This team is just disgusting. I don't like it. And I don't like it because I don't think me in particular, I don't have much to handle this. This team on its own is very... Of course, you have Dozogiri, like Kilowattrel, Glamora, and then Flamigo, and Grimmsnarl. You have, like, a team like this, right? It's so easy to see what's coming. So people will obviously prepare to hell for this, but I just think even if you do, like, fully prepare for this, you need, like, Prankster Haze and stuff like that to really stop what's coming. And not a lot of teams have options for that, if I'm being honest. Not a lot of teams have, easy access to Haze or Clear Smog, I think. I know mine doesn't. But, yeah. But even besides that, like, you don't even have to bring them together, if I'm being honest. A lot of the time, of course, you do. But it's not required, because Dozo is a mon that functions really good even without Tatsu. Even, like, Scarf Tatsu works quite well. Even with Storm Drain, you could pair it next to Glim or Dug Trio to lock things in. And, of course, you can never forget that if you were to, like, I don't know, Toxic Orb the Tatsu, It goes down, then you bring Flamigo in with Co-Star, and then it's just a whole different issue. And because you have Grim, you can just set up screens. I don't like this team. And I don't like it because it's disgusting, because it's good. I know Mario put this team as like the lowest, which I personally don't get. Maybe it's just that he doesn't like it, like I don't. But I definitely don't think you can put a team like this so low, especially also because it has some very nice speed tiers. Being able to Tailwind with Kilowatt Roll from Migo, Thunderwave with Grim, making it so bulky. I don't like this team myself. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing some obviously glaring weakness. I don't even have to talk about the other Mons. Iron Crown, incredible Mon, Booster Energy, Expert Belt, Life Orb can do so much with this. Duck Trio is really annoying to trap things in. Chimecho and Mismagius, I do think these two are like doubling up a bit. I'd have like one of them. I wouldn't have both. And Pikachu is just there for, I guess, Lightning Rod, Fake Out, just a fun Mon for 10 tiers, for 10 points. Overall, I think this is just, I don't like this team. I really don't like it. Because it's like disgustingly good. Moody here as well. Oh my lord, I'm just missing things. I'm gonna move on. I've given the team, this probably goes in S if I'm being honest, but moving on to the last team of Emboss. This is a very interesting team because immediately if you look at the type chart, you can see it has a lot of weaknesses. Like off the jump to like major types as well. Fire, fighting, dark, even flying and rock. But at the same time, you look at the Mons on there. Indeedee, Sneasler, Delphox, Roaring Moon. I feel like it, and even like Snow Warning, Snow, which is a Titan. I feel like this team is like not the best defensively, even though I can see solid like defensive Mons on there. Like Cryogonal, Titan, when they're both of them under Snow, Donphan, Electrox are very bulky, so is Indeedee. But I feel like if you remove the Mons, that's like any team though. No shit. If you kill the Mons, the bulky Mons, the frail ones are gonna die too. I just think this team will deal so much damage before you're able to remove it that I feel like this team just does too much, like a lot of damage. But it's so defensively like frail. Like I know teams like this can work. You even have like Intimidate Deterrent in the competitive here. And your own Intimidate, it's a Titan. But like I don't like teams that are this like either kill everything or get killed. Because this seems like one of those teams to me. Either you immediately like turn one put in so much pressure that the opponent can't go get back from it, or you just get a turn one read long, get beat, lose like a mon or two, and then it's just no way to recover. Because I'm definitely probably seeing this wrong, doing that the wrong way though. Like Indeedee, Sneasler, Roaring Moon, and like Delphox is probably enough. It's not even like two frail Mons because Indeedee and Roaring Moon are pretty bulky. But like, I'm not the biggest fan of this team myself. Like, I can understand that you could definitely use this. This is like a very like. This is either gonna be one. In my opinion, I think this team either performs like some of the best or some of the worst, and I don't think. Yeah. So this is another team I'll put in B tier, I say. Or like the top of A, I think. So to decide for the S tier, so it's between these four, I'd say, that I put in S tier. I think Mario's is very solid. I think Terracroc is incredible. I'll put Terracroc in S, because I really like everything he has. What's the other team? Okay. I don't want to put this team in S tier is the thing. It probably deserves S tier, but I don't want to put it. I'll put it top of A. And I think, yeah, and I'll put um other teams. I feel like there should be this one more S tier. No, I think this. I'll put mine. And this could be like an ego thing, but I genuinely think I did really well with my team. I'll put this team above it because I do think that there's very little flaws I see in the Torturing Stellas. I'll do this. Within the tiers, I don't think I actually will rank within tiers. I feel like that's long. I think this should be like my own. Do I want to rank them within tiers? I feel like that's a bit long. This is off at the top here, then this one. A quick look. What's Radios? Oh, Radios is really good though. I'll do this. Yeah, it's very hard for me to rank within the A tier. And of course, my team, I feel like you could definitely put it like somewhere here. And you can put like some of these teams up here. For this team, I just don't want to do it by myself. I don't want to put it high because I don't like it. This team, because I don't like predictable teams. This team just seems way too predictable. Even though like this is also the type of team where like you put all your resources into stopping it, and then they bring something you didn't see coming, and then you get cooked. But still, I think that's it. I've yapped for like an hour now. I don't really like doing this stuff on my own because I just don't like doing this yet talking to myself. I feel like I'm going insane and I don't know when to stop yapping. But I did my attempt at it. Here's a bunch of yapping. Here's the final tier list. Best to worst. Like some of these are these are ranked within the tiers. This one's a bit of a toss-up. These are a toss-up. I still think this is probably the best team. And yeah, that's about it. That's enough yapping for me. See y'all for week 1 of the GLDL, which we don't know the schedule for, but can't wait.